to order. This is the November 10th meeting of the TAC Planning Committee. Jed, do we have a quorum present?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll just hold tight for a minute.
All right, now we have a quorum.
Okay, quorum is present. Can you take the roll, please, Jed?
Right. Stenson.
Present.
Picone.
Here.
Dermody. Reef. Howley.
Present.
Burns.
Here.
Tsukos.
Here.
Mitiko. AO.
Here.
Forsland.
Here.
Atkins.
Here.
Vole.
Here.
Leitner.
Here.
Beckwith. Corbett.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Abney. Merrick.
Here.
And Mahold.
Here.
All right, we have 20 or 19 of 20, or I can't count. 15 of 20 here.
Okay, thank you, Jed. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, the agenda stands approved as presented, and we will move on to item number 3, approval of the August 11th, 2022 TAC Planning minutes. Jed, can you take roll call?
I believe we need a motion for that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Elaine will make the motion to approve the minutes.
Beat
Okay.
me to it, Elaine. I'll second that motion.
Okay, Elaine moves and David seconds. Any discussion on the motion? If not, Jed, can you take the roll call, please?
Stenson.
Aye.
Picone.
Aye.
Dermody. Reef.
I'll abstain.
Howley.
Abstain, was not in attendance.
Burns.
Aye.
Tsukos.
Aye.
Mitiko. AO.
Aye.
Forsland.
Aye.
Atkins.
Aye.
Vole.
Aye.
Leitner.
Aye.
Beckwith. Corbett.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Abney. Merrick.
Aye.
Mahold.
Abstain.
All right, the ayes are 12, the noes are 0, and abstain is 3.
Okay, so the August 11th TAC minutes are approved. And we will move on to today's business. I guess first I'll ask Jed if there's any members of the public that have submitted a request to provide comment at the meeting.
No, there are none.
Okay, thank you for that. And just as a reminder, I believe this meeting is being broadcast on the Met Council webpage, just for everyone's information. Moving on to the first item of business, item number 2022-48, Metropolitan Airports Commission 2023 to 2029 Capital Improvement Program. Cole?
Yeah, thanks. And Jed, I think you're going to bring up the PowerPoint. I can certainly.
Were you asking me to share the slides?
I got it. You guys see that? You guys hear me better now?
Yep,
we
we can
can't-
hear you.
Can't really hear you too well.
Yeah. Sometimes my WebEx switches to a different microphone for some reason. But can you hear me better now? Yeah. Is it on the presentation or do I need to switch?
We can see it.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you. I'm Cole Hiniker, Multimodal Planning Manager. For those of you who don't know, our aviation systems planner, Russ Owen, took another job a few months ago. So I'm pinch hitting until we have a new aviation planner to fill in. So one of my first exciting roles was to learn a whole lot about MAC's capital improvements program process. And first off, want to thank Bridget and her team for really helping walk us through this capital improvement program and talk about all the projects they're planning. And of course, Bridget's available if there's any questions specifically about the CIP. Just a reminder on the roles, MAC has, and is it advancing? I'm really kind of confused as to what's going on my end.
It's not.
How about now?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, so first of all, MAC's role is to provide, promote aviation and provide competitive air service for the region. They of course own and operate 7, I think, of the 9 public airports in the metro area. They prepare long-term comp plans, which the council reviews and improves to be consistent with the TPP, and then they annually prepare a CIP to implement planned improvements at the airports. I can just say, having come back from travel in Miami, I know Scott was also there with me. Minneapolis's airport is far superior to Miami's airport in terms of a customer experience. So bravo to MAC on that front. In terms of the Met Council's role, we do prepare a regional aviation system plan that was adopted with the TPP, the last version being adopted in 2020. We do review the airport comp plans. We review environmental evaluations. In fact, we just reviewed one for a gate waiting area expansion in Concourse G. And we do review annually MAC's capital improvement program. And we are under statute required to approve any major capital projects that have a significant effect on the orderly and economic development of the region, which is one of the charges of the Met Council overall. And so today we're going to talk through our findings in this latest CIP, and we don't have any capital projects that require approval this year, but there are some in the coming years. We just want to keep you guys up to speed on what that looks like. So in terms of our capital projects review criteria, and this is laid out in statute, we have to review all projects over $5 million at MSP Airport and any over $2 million at the reliever airports. And we have to evaluate them to see whether they have potential for significant effects. And there's a number of significant effects criteria that we review. The first of which is the location of a new airport, which of course hasn't happened for quite a while in this region. But new runways at an existing airport would also fall under that. And more importantly, runway extensions at an existing airport, which has happened in recent years, particularly at relievers, including one in future years in this current CIP. Runway strengthening other than a routine maintenance project. So, the load capacity of a runway. And then a new or expanded passenger handling or parking facility that increases capacity by 25% or more. This would, of course, be pretty difficult to do at MSP, given how large they already are, but this could factor in at some of the reliever airports if there was a concourse expansion that was pretty substantial. Any project that requires land acquisition would also fall under this. So an expansion of the footprint of the aviation property would also trigger that significant effects criteria. What we do when we look at the 2023 capital program, and so we tend to look at it annually since this is an annual requirement. We just tend to focus on the next upcoming year. So for 2023, we ensure that MAC went through an adequate public participation process. And there's a schedule included in your business item that shows all the different engagement and public comment opportunity, including circulating all of their capital programs to affected local governments, making sure that that all happens and is planned. We look at their assessment of environmental effects, which was completed, is put out for public comment. We've reviewed that. That's also listed in your agenda if you want to review that in more detail. And we make sure that MAC's CIP has identified adequate funding and is consistent with the 2040 TPP. Most of the significant projects that would come out of MAC would have been described in their long-term comprehensive plan, which is consistent with the TPP. So generally, we're going to be reviewing those major projects at the comp plan process, not necessarily an annual for consistency with the TPP. There are no capital projects in 2023 that require Met Council approval. There are a number of significant large projects that are being planned by MAC both this year and bleeding into next year. None of them trigger any of those significant effects criteria. I would note that next year we anticipate a project at Lakeville Air Lake Airport, a runway expansion triggering that. And so for next year's action, we likely would have a project approval to move forward with this action item. So as I said, that next year, that's something to think about. Also, just wanted to note that next year is just a really big year for MAC, over $1 billion in capital program funding planned. So that's a substantial year for them. I don't know if Bridget, if you might have said to me, it's the largest year you can remember in terms of spending. But they also are working on their long-term comprehensive plan update for MSP. That'll be completed in 2023. And so there's potential for that to start to influence their CIPs in future years. And so it's a big year for MAC, both in terms of what they're doing on the capital side and also their long-term planning and thinking for MSP in particular. So with that, I would welcome any questions. The business item listed is requesting that we accept the findings of the Met Council review of the MAC CIP. I don't have the specific motion in front of me, but consider.
Yeah, I think the motion is the suggested motion is that the TAC Planning Committee recommend to TAC to recommend acceptance of the staff analysis of MAC's 23 to 29 CIP and forward these comments to Met Council for its consideration. Would anybody like to make that motion?
Howley will make that motion.
Could you state your name? I did not see it.
Charlie Howley, I believe.
Thank you.
Correct. Yep.
Is there a second?
This is David Burns. I'll second that.
Okay, David seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Or questions for Cole before we vote?
Yes, I just have one question. I don't know if Bridget's there. I wanted to find out if there are issues, whether they have complaint from maybe residents that live closer to the airport in terms of noise issue?
Good afternoon, everyone. Bridget Rafe, I'm Vice President for Planning and Development. I think most of you know me. Innocent, thanks for the question. If you're referring to the international airport, we have an ongoing noise mitigation program. And over the past many years, the actual noise contour that we develop every year based on actual operations has been shrinking quite a bit. With upgauging of aircraft size, the number of operations continues to shrink. And in the long-term plan that we are working on right now, we are forecasting an increase in operations by 2040, but still not meeting the levels that we've seen in previous years. We've also just recently negotiated with the communities around the airport for an extension to the noise mitigation program. It had a sunset date of 2024 associated with it. We've negotiated an extension to that and received FAA approval for that because the FAA allows and will actually fund noise mitigation within the 65 DNL contour. We actually mitigate homes beyond that out to the 60, and we need to use airport funds for that. Of course, we can't use federal funds, but we can use airport funds and get their approval for that. For the other airports, the one comment that I will offer is right now we are in the process of working on the environmental review document for the Air Lake runway project that Cole mentioned. That's currently scheduled for 2024. And to date, as part of this year's CIP affected communities open comment process, we did receive one comment from a resident outside of the Lakeville Airport that is asking the expansion not happen. So we'll provide responses to that comment as part of our CIP review and as part of the ongoing environmental review process.
Okay, thank you, Bridget.
I guess it's also important that I just note that you might see on the schedule some of the pieces of MAC's approval are still pending, and we generally take this through the technical committees with the assumption that the Metropolitan Airports Commission will approve their own CIP prior to the Met Council's acceptance of the staff review, and that any changes that occur between now as a result of their, I don't know what you want to call it, Bridget, outreach and process and engagement and final review will be reported to the council during their approval. And so there is a chance that things could change, but that would all be provided prior to the council's approval. Is that fair, Bridget?
Yes, absolutely. So the capital program typically does change a little bit between our September draft, which is what this document that you have is based on, and the version that we approve in December. But from an AOEE perspective, from an environmental review perspective, from a Met Council approval perspective, we wouldn't add anything in the year 2023 that would require us to redo all of these steps all over again. So there are changes. There are some things that some projects will move around and stuff, and we may add a project or two to 2023, but it wouldn't meet any of the criteria that we're reviewing today.
Okay, thank you, Bridget. Is there any more questions or comments on MAC's CIP before we vote?
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. Wondering what level of coordination has been done with the aeronautics office?
Okay, Bridget or Cole, could you address that?
So thank you for the question. So Ryan Gog with aeronautics sits in on our commission meetings, so he's aware of the process. We typically work quite closely with aeronautics from a grant perspective for a number of our projects. But overall, aeronautics typically does not comment on our CIP.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll read the motion one more time, and this would be for TAC Planning to recommend to TAC to recommend acceptance of the staff analysis of Max 23 to 29 CIP and forward these comments to Met Council for its consideration. That's been moved and seconded, and I'll just ask one more time if there's any more questions or comments. And hearing none, Jed, could you please take the roll?
Stenson,
Aye.
McCone,
Aye.
Dermody, Reeve,
Aye.
Howley,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Katsukos,
Aye.
Hiniker, Hino,
Aye.
Forsland,
Aye.
Atkins,
Aye.
Vol,
Aye.
Leitner,
Aye.
Beckwith, Corbett,
Abstain.
Larson,
Aye.
Abney, Merrick,
Aye.
Mahold.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 14 ayes, no nos, and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you, Jed. So the motion passes, and that will be forwarded on to TAC. Thank you, Bridget and Cole, for the presentation. And I'm also
Thank you.
seeing another agenda item here, the CIP assessment of environmental effects. Is that another separate presentation, or was that covered in the first presentation?
That is an attachment on this business item. So no, it is not a separate presentation.
Okay. So I believe that concludes the MAC CIP agenda item. Is there any other business? Hearing none, we will adjourn the meeting at 1:23 and look forward to seeing you guys in about 10 minutes for the TPP work group. Thank you.